Welcome back to the Tank Guide Life podcast, a production of Fish Keeping Life Co.
Yep.
It is really good to be back behind the mic.
It is.
Today we are shifting gears a little bit. Usually, we're talking about fish things with fins swimming around, but today we are going small. We're going invertebrate.
We are, and honestly, this is probably the single most requested topic we get. In the comments, emails, everywhere. People are obsessed with them, but at the same time, they're absolutely terrified of them.
We are talking about Neocaridina shrimp. You know them. The cherry shrimp.
Oh.
The blue dreams. The little colorful guys that look like, I don't know, pieces of candy at the bottom of the tank.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right about that fear factor. I was talking to a buddy of mine just last week. He's kept fish for years successfully. And he said looking at his first shrimp tank feels like looking at a bomb that hasn't gone off yet.
Yeah.
He's just waiting for them to vanish.
It's such a pervasive myth in the hobby. You hear it constantly. Shrimp are sensitive or shrimp are fragile, or my favorite, I looked at the tank wrong and they all died. And it keeps so many people from enjoying what is, I think, one of the most rewarding parts of aquatics.
Exactly. And I've been there. I think we all have. You buy 10, a week later you can only find 3.
Mm-hmm.
And you just assume the other 7, I don't know, went into the witness protection program.
Yeah, they just disappeared.
But we've been looking at a ton of research, breeder logs, and a lot of the guides on Fish Keeping Life Co., and they all suggest that reputation for fragility might be, maybe is not entirely fair.
It's not fair at all. In fact, the core idea of what we're going to unpack today is pretty simple. Shrimp are not fragile. They are specific. They are stability dependent.
Stability dependent. I like that. That's a good distinction.
It's the core of everything we're going to talk about. If you treat a shrimp like a neon tetra or a guppy, you will fail.
Okay.
A guppy has wiggle room. A shrimp really does not. But if you understand their biology, specifically how they interact with minerals and osmotic pressure, they are actually incredibly hardy. They can survive things fish can't as long as the environment is stable.
So our mission today is to decode that stability. We're going to walk through the entire life cycle of keeping them, from that terrifying moment you click buy on a website to the chemistry that's happening inside the shipping box.
All the way to why cleaning your tank too well might actually be a death sentence.
We're going to dismantle the fragile myth piece by piece.
That's the plan.
So let's start at the very beginning, the setup. Because I think a lot of people, maybe they fail before they even get the credit card out. They set up a tank, they cycle it, the ammonia hits 0, and they think, green light, let's go.
And that is the very first trap. There's a fundamental difference in the shrimp hobby between a cycled tank and a seasoned tank.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Right.
You know what cycled means? That's Aquarium 101. You get your beneficial bacteria going. Ammonia goes to nitrite, nitrite to nitrate. It's safe for fish. Why isn't that automatically safe for shrimp?
It's safe in the sense that the water won't immediately poison them. But think of a brand new, freshly cycled tank like a brand new empty house. It has running water, the electricity works, the heat is on, it's habitable, you could survive there. But the pantry is empty. The fridge is totally empty. There's no furniture.
It's a sterile environment.
Exactly. Now, if you move a fish into that house and you toss in some flake food every day, the fish is fine. It swims up. It eats what you give it. Shrimps are fundamentally different. They're grazers.
Right.
They're detritivores. They don't just eat meals when you drop them in. They are constantly, and I mean constantly, picking at surfaces 24 hours a day.
They're the little custodial staff of the tank.
They are. And in a tank that just finished cycling yesterday, those surfaces are sterile. It is a food desert. They will literally starve to death in a perfect, clean tank because there's no infrastructure for them to graze on.
So we need a seasoned tank. What does that actually look like? If I look into a tank, how do I know it's seasoned versus just cycled?
You want to see life, you want to see biofilm.
Biofilm. Okay, that's the slippery stuff on the glass.
Yeah. It's the slippery stuff on the glass. It's the brown fuzz on the driftwood. It's the gunk that grows down on the substrate. Biofilm isn't just slime. It's a whole complex matrix of bacteria, algae, fungi, and even microscopic organisms like rotifers.
Wow.
And to a shrimp, specifically a baby shrimp, that is a 24-hour all-you-can-eat buffet. It's rich in protein, it's rich in vitamins, it is their primary food source.
This is such a hard mental shift for beginners because we are trained to want clean,
Yeah.
We see brown fuzz on the wood, and the first instinct is to grab the scrub brush. We see that green film on the back glass, and we want to scrape it off with a razor blade.
And if you're keeping shrimp, that is the worst thing you can possibly do. You are literally bulldozing their grocery store.
So what's the advice?
If you're setting up a tank specifically for Neocaridinas, my advice is to cycle it and then do nothing.
Relax.
Let it run for another month.
Let it sit. Empty.
Let it sit. Leave the lights on for a good 8 hours a day. Let some algae grow. Let the wood get a little slimy. Maybe throw in some botanicals or leaves and let them start to break down. You're building an ecosystem, not just a water box. You need that microfauna to establish itself.
So patience is the first ingredient. We're not just waiting for numbers on a test kit to be right. We're waiting for biology to actually take hold.
Precisely. Stability isn't just chemical. It's biological maturity. You want that tank to feel, lived in.
Okay, so let's assume I've been patient. My tank looks a little lived in. I've got some nice slime, as you call it, on the driftwood. Now I actually need to buy the shrimp. And this brings up the great debate. Local fish store versus the internet.
This is where people get really polarized, but it's not really about one being better than the other. It's about understanding the supply chain. You have to know where that animal has been and what it's been through to get to you.
Let's talk about buying online first. It feels like that's the standard now, especially if you want the high-grade colors, the fire reds, the blue dreams, that kind of thing.
The massive advantage of buying online, especially from a dedicated shrimp breeder or a high-end importer, is traceability.
Right.
If you buy from a good breeder, you know those shrimp were raised in specific water parameters that they can tell you about. You know they haven't been mixed with 50 other species in some giant wholesale vat.
You're getting them closer to the source.
Right. But you are introducing a very specific, very intense stress event. The shipping box.
The bag of doom.
It is a rough ride. I mean, imagine being put in a dark bag, sloshed around in a truck, flown on a plane, and then dropped on a porch. The temperature fluctuates, the pressure changes, the vibrations are constant. It's intense.
We have a note here about shipping logistics that I found fascinating. It mentions the Monday-Wednesday window. Why is the day of the week so critical?
It's all about avoiding the weekend gap. Think about it. If a seller ships a package on a Friday, and for whatever reason it doesn't arrive by Saturday afternoon, where does it go?
It sits in a hot warehouse. Or worse, the back of a truck.
Exactly. It just sits there, stagnant, all day Sunday. That's an extra 24 to 48 hours of waste building up in that tiny bag, more temperature swings, and zero movement. A reputable seller will almost never ship live animals on a Thursday or Friday.
Interesting.
They'll ship Monday, Tuesday, maybe Wednesday to ensure the package keeps moving through the carrier's network without getting stuck over the weekend.
So if you're about to click buy, check the shipping policy. If they say we ship daily, yeah, that's a red flag.
Huge red flag. You want a seller who says, we only ship Mondays and Tuesdays. That shows they care about the survival rate, not just the sale volume. They're prioritizing the animal's welfare over your desire for instant gratification.
Now let me play devil's advocate. Why not just go to the local pet store? I can drive there, I can pick them out and have them home in 20 minutes. No FedEx truck involved.
And for some people, that can work great. But you have to look at the life of a shrimp in a typical retail setting. We call it chronic low-level stress.
As opposed to the acute one-time stress of shipping.
Exactly. In a store, those shrimp were already shipped from a wholesaler, which is stress event number 1. Then they were dumped into a tank. Then every single day, people are walking by, kids are tapping on the glass.
Right, yeah.
Employees are constantly dipping nets in to catch other fish. New shipments of other fish get dumped in, bringing new potential pathogens.
The high traffic zone.
It's just constant immune system suppression. The shrimp might look okay, but they are often running on fumes. Their cortisol levels, or, the invertebrate equivalent, are through the roof.
And this leads to something you mentioned, the rescue fallacy.
Ah, yes.
I'm so guilty of this. You walk into a big box store, you see a little plastic cup of sad, pale shrimp sitting on a shelf, and your first thought is, I have to save them. If I don't buy them, they'll die.
It comes from such a good place.
Yeah.
It really does. But we have to be brutal about the economics of it. When you buy that cup of sad shrimp, you are sending a signal to the store's inventory algorithm.
And that signal says?
That signal says, this product sells.
So they order more.
They ordered 2 more cups to replace the one you saved. You aren't rescuing the animal. You are validating the supply chain that mistreated it in the first place.
That is a hard pill to swallow, but it makes perfect sense. If we want better standards, we have to support the breeders and the stores that actually have those better standards.
Exactly. You vote with your wallet. Now, if you have a local store that really knows their stuff, they can tell you the GH and KH of their water. They have dedicated, beautiful shrimp tanks support them. That's gold.
But if they're just in a mixed tank with some goldfish?
Walk away. Just walk away.
Okay, so let's assume we did it right. We ordered from a pro. The box has arrived. It's sitting on my porch. This is what the notes call the critical first hours. What is the first move?
The first move is to check the weather. Before you even touch the box, is it winter? Is the box freezing cold? Is it the middle of July and it's been baking on your porch? Because the temperature inside that box is likely very different from the temperature inside your living room.
So don't just rip it open like it's a new toy on Christmas morning.
No. Bring the whole sealed box inside and just set it on a table. Let it sit there for, I'd say, 45 minutes to an hour.
An hour.
At least. You want the temperature inside the box to slowly drift towards room temperature. If you open it immediately and pull the bag out into your 72-degree room from a 90-degree box, you can thermally shock them just from the air difference.
Patience again. Okay, so an hour passes, we open the box, we see the bag, the shrimp are alive, they're kicking around. Now we get to the science part that absolutely blew my mind when I was reading up on this. The Ammonia Trap.
This is the single most common reason for shrimp either being dead on arrival or dying within 24 hours. And it is completely invisible if you don't know the chemistry.
Okay, walk us through the chemistry here, because it sounds really counterintuitive.
Okay. In that shipping bag, the shrimp have been traveling for maybe 48 hours. They're not eating much, but they are producing waste. They're pooping. That waste creates ammonia.
Which is, as we know, highly toxic.
Usually, yes, but at the same time, they're also breathing. They're consuming the oxygen in the water and releasing CO2. In a sealed plastic bag, that CO2 has nowhere to go. It dissolves into the water and forms carbonic acid.
Acid, so the pH of the water starts to go down.
Significantly, the pH in a shipping bag might drop from a normal 7.5 all the way down to 6.0 or even lower. Now, here's the magic trick of aquatic chemistry. Ammonia, which is NH3, and ammonium, NH4 plus Enki, exist in a balance that is dictated by pH.
Okay.
At a low acidic pH, almost all of that toxic ammonia converts into the much less harmful form, ammonium.
And ammonium is safe.
It's relatively harmless to them, yeah. So the shrimp are swimming in a soup of their own waste, but because the CO2 had lowered the pH, that waste is locked in a non-toxic form. They are literally protected by their own breath.
That is wild. Nature is so cool. But then we open the bag.
Then we open the bag, fresh air rushes in, the CO2 immediately starts to off-gas. It's just like opening a bottle of soda, you know, that little fizz sound?
Yeah.
That's CO2 leaving the water. The carbonic acid disappears. The pH of the water shoots back up very, very quickly.
And the chemical lock breaks.
Instantly. As that pH rises, all that safe ammonium converts right back into toxic ammonia, sometimes in a matter of minutes. You have effectively just detonated a chemical bomb in their bag simply by opening it.
That is terrifying. You think you're helping by giving them fresh air, but you're actually poisoning them.
Yeah.
So how do we stop it? What's the move?
You have to neutralize the ammonia before it has a chance to shift.
Right.
The moment you cut that bag open, literally the second the scissors make the cut, you add a drop of an ammonia detoxifier. Something like Sechem Prime is the common one.
Just right into the dirty shipping water.
Right into that shipping bag. It will bind the ammonia into a non-toxic form regardless of what the pH is doing. This buys you a crucial safety window during the next step, which is acclimation.
That is a pro tip that I bet 90% of people miss. A drop of Prime, then proceed.
It saves so many lives. It removes that time pressure.
So now we're safe to acclimate. And with shrimp, we absolutely cannot just pluck and drop.
Never, ever plop and drop shrimp. Fish have scales and a slime coat. They have a bit of a barrier between their internal organs and the water around them. Shrimp do not. They have a permeable exoskeleton. Their internal fluids are constantly trying to balance with the outside water.
This is where we get into the term osmotic shock.
Yes. Imagine if you were suddenly teleported from sea level to the top of Mount Everest. The sudden change in air pressure would destroy you. For a shrimp, moving from water with a TDS total dissolved solids of 400 to a tank with a TDS of 150 is the exact same thing. Their cells can literally rupture. Or they suffer invisible organ damage that kills them 3 days later.
So we drip acclimate.
You must drip acclimate. You set up a slow siphon from your tank into the container with the shrimp. You want it to go drip, drip, maybe 1 or 2 drops per second.
It should be boring to watch.
Extremely boring. If it's a steady stream, it's too fast. Your goal is to quadruple the volume of water in that shrimp container over the course of at least 60 to 90 minutes. You're slowly, gradually blending the two worlds so the shrimp's biology can adjust without snapping.
And only once that's done, you net them out and put them in the tank.
Correct. And never, ever pour the bag water into your tank. It's full of stress hormones and waste and who knows what else. Net the shrimp, gently release them.
Okay, they're in. They're exploring the biofilm. They look happy. But now, to keep them happy long term, we have to talk about the alphabet soup. GH, KH, TDS. These acronyms scare people off, but for shrimp, they are not optional, are they?
They are non-negotiable. You can kind of ignore these for a bed of fish most of the time. You absolutely cannot ignore them for an invertebrate.
Let's break them down, just the essential insights. First up, GH, general hardness.
GH is the construction material. It's a measure of magnesium and calcium in the water.
And why do they need that?
To build their house. The shrimp's shell is made of a substance called chitin, but it's hardened with calcium and magnesium ions that they pull from the water. When they molt, when they shed that old skin to grow, they're soft and vulnerable. They have to pull those minerals out of the water column and into their body to harden the new shell.
So if the GH is too low,
the new shell never hardens. It stays soft. The shrimp just sort of collapses or gets eaten or dies from the physical stress of it. It's like trying to build a skyscraper out of wet cardboard.
and what if the GH is too high?
That is arguably worse. The shell becomes like concrete. It gets too rigid, so when the shrimp tries to flex its muscles to break out of the old shell during a molt, it physically can't. It gets stuck.
This leads to the infamous white ring of death.
It does. It sounds like a heavy metal band, but it's a really tragic way for a shrimp to go. You'll see this distinct white band appear right behind the shrimp's head. That's actually a gap. The shell has split open, but the shrimp is physically stuck inside the back half. They just trap themselves and die of exhaustion.
That's horrific. So there's a sweet spot we need to aim for.
For Neocaridina, that sweet spot is generally a GH between 6 and 12 degrees. That's enough mineral to build a strong shell, but not so much that it builds a prison.
Okay, next letter. KH, carbonate hardness.
KH is the shield. Its primary job is to protect your pH. KH is a buffer. It neutralizes acids.
Why does that matter so much for the shrimp?
Stability. Again, if your KH is 0, your water is incredibly vulnerable to pH swings. Fish waste is acidic. CO2 is acidic. Without any KH, your pH could swing from 7.5 during the day down to 6.0 at night.
And shrimp hate that.
Neocaridinas hate pH swings. They want a pH generally between about 6.8 and 7.8, and more importantly, they want it to stay there. KH acts like an anchor, holding that number steady.
Got it. So construction material is GH, and the shield is KH. Now the big one, PDS, total dissolved solids.
The TDS pen is the most popular tool in the shrimp hobby, and it's also the most misunderstood. The best way to think of TDS is as the check engine light.
It tells you that something is happening, but not necessarily what.
Exactly. A TDS meter measures everything that has an electrical charge dissolved in the water. Minerals like calcium, yes, but also salts, nitrates, phosphates, fertilizers, water conditioner. It's a sum total of everything.
So if my TDS reads 200, is that good or bad?
It depends entirely on what's making up that 200. If it's 200 parts per million of good calcium and magnesium, great. If it's 200 ppm of copper and nitrate, you've got dead shrimp.
So why do we track it then, if it's so vague?
We track it for osmotic stability. Remember that pressure concept we talked about with acclimation? If your tank is stable and happy at 250 TDS, and next week you measure it and it's 260, and the week after it's 270, that tells you that evaporation is concentrating the minerals in waste. It tells you when it's time to do a water change.
It's a drift detector.
Precisely. And it helps you match your new water for water changes. You want the water going in to have roughly the same TDS as the water already in the tank to avoid that osmotic shock.
Okay, so let's say I test my water. I live in an area with very soft tap water. Or maybe I'm using an RO, a reverse osmosis filter. My GH is basically 0. How do I fix that?
You have to put the minerals back in. You have to remineralize the water.
Can I just add like table salt or something?
Oh, please no. You need specific ratios of calcium and magnesium. There are great products out there. Brands like Salty Shrimp are sort of the industry standard that are just a powder of these minerals. You mix it into your bucket of RO water until the TDS pen hits your target number, and you know perfectly that you have the right GH and KH.
It gives you precision.
It gives you control, and control is what this is all about.
What about the more natural route? I see people throwing crushed coral or cuttlebone into their filters.
That absolutely works too. A cuttle bone, the white oval things you buy for parakeets to peck at, is almost pure calcium carbonate. You can break a chunk off and hide it in the back of the tank or tuck it into your filter.
I've seen videos of shrimp grazing directly on a cuttlebone. It's kind of cute.
Yeah. They will. They know what they need. If they feel they're calcium deficient, they will literally go rasp at it. The downside of natural buffers is that they're slow and a bit uncontrolled. You don't know exactly where your GH will land, but for a simple, low-tech tank, it's a great, cheap hack.
So it's an option.
A great option. And by the way, if you do want specific recommendations on these products, you can always check the Fish Keeping Life Co. blog. We have some affiliate links to the specific salts and buffers that we trust and use.
But the golden rule remains. Don't chase the numbers too fast.
Never chase numbers. If your GH is 5 and you decide you want it to be 8, don't just dump a cup of powder in today. Raise it to 6 this week, then maybe 7 next week. Shrimp adapt to wrong but stable parameters way better than they adapt to correcting but rapidly changing parameters.
Okay, let's talk about food. Because this is where I think we kill them with kindness. We want to feed them. We want to see that little pile of shrimp fighting over a pellet. It's fun to watch.
And that desire is dangerous. The big mindset shift you have to make here is this. Shrimp are not dogs. They do not need meals at 8 a.m. and 5 p.m.
Because they're eating the biofilm all day.
They are eating 24/7. Their tiny little claws are constantly scraping microscopic food off of every surface. If you have a mature, seasoned tank, they're already full.
So supplemental feeding is just that. It's a supplement.
Maybe twice a week. In a well-seasoned tank with a small colony, you might only need to drop food in once a week, if that.
Okay, so when we do feed them, what should we be giving them?
I'm a huge fan of the Kitchen Raid. Fresh vegetables, little slices of zucchini, some spinach, cucumber, carrots.
Do you just throw a raw carrot slice in there?
No, you have to blanch it first.
Explain blanching for the non-chefs out there.
You just boil some water, drop the vegetable slice in for maybe 3 to 4 minutes. You're trying to break down the tough cellular walls. You want it soft. If it's raw, it's too hard for their tiny little mouth parts to tear apart. Blanching makes it mushy enough for them to eat, and it also helps it sink to the bottom.
And then you fish it out later.
This is the golden rule of shrimp feeding. Underfeeding is safe. Overfeeding is lethal.
Why is that?
Because any uneaten food rots. And rotting organic matter produces ammonia very, very rapidly in a small water volume. If you leave a slice of zucchini in there for 2 days, it turns into a slime bomb of bacteria and ammonia.
The 2-hour rule.
If they haven't mostly consumed it in 2 or 3 hours, you need to take it out. Get a turkey baster or a net and remove it. The only real exception to this rule is botanicals.
You mean dried leaves?
Exactly. Indian almond leaves, mulberry leaves, guava leaves. You can leave these in until they completely disintegrate. They don't foul the water in the same way. They release beneficial tannins, which are antibacterial, and they create new surface area for more biofilm to grow. They're the perfect vacation food.
Plus, I love the look of leaf litter in a tank anyway. It just looks more natural.
It looks natural, and it mimics their wild habitat. In the streams of Taiwan, where these guys originally come from, they live in piles and piles of fallen leaves.
Okay, now for the question that everyone asks. Can I keep them with my fish? We all want that perfect community tank. The rainbow fish, the tetras, and the shrimp all living in harmony.
I'm going to have to be the bearer of bad news here.
Oh, no.
The term shrimp safe is a myth.
Really? Even the tiny fish? What about Chile resbores? They're minuscule.
Look, it all comes down to mouth size. If a fish has a mouth that is big enough to fit a shrimp into, it will eventually eat the shrimp. It's just nature. It's not malice. It's just lunch.
Okay, but what if the shrimp are too big? My adult cherry shrimp are a decent size. A neon tetra can't eat that.
True. An adult, maybe not. But a neon tetra can and absolutely will eat a baby shrimp. Shrimplets are about 1 to 2 millimeters long when they hatch. They are essentially living plankton. And almost every fish in the world is biologically programmed to eat plankton.
So if you have fish in the tank, you are going to lose babies. You won't get a booming population.
You won't. If your goal is to breed a massive colony to sell or trade, you need a species-only tank. No fish, period. If you just want some shrimp as a fun part of your cleanup crew and you don't mind the population staying small, you can keep them with peaceful fish, provided you give them lots of hiding spots.
Moss. Lots and lots of moss.
Java moss is the ultimate shrimp nursery. A big, dense clump of moss gives the babies a place to hide where the fish literally cannot swim.
What about snails? Snails are safe, right? They don't have teeth, they can't eat shrimp.
Snails don't eat live shrimp, no. But there is a competition factor that people often overlook. We have a great note here about the war for the floor.
Is this about Malaysian trumpet snails?
It is. Malaysian trumpet snails, or MTS, are great for stirring up sand, but they eat the exact same thing as shrimp. Detritus and biofilm deep down in the substrate.
And the snails are better getting it.
They're tanks. They just bulldoze through the substrate. If you have a population explosion of 500 trumpet snails, they can actually outcompete your shrimp colony for food.
I have this funny mental image now of a shrimp standing on a snail's shell, trying to get to a piece of food, while the snail just ignores it and eats everything underneath it.
It really happens. I've seen shrimp colonies slowly fade away, not because of water quality, but because the snails were eating 90% of the available resources. It's resource management. We actually have a stocking advisor tool on the Fishkeeping Life Co. website that lets you plug in your fish, and it'll tell you the risk level for shrimp. I highly recommend using it before you buy.
Okay, we need to talk about the silent killer, the thing that you might put in your tank without even knowing it's a poison. We need to talk about copper.
Copper is kryptonite to invertebrates. It is incredibly lethal, even in what seem like trace amounts.
Why is it so toxic to them, but basically fine for fish?
It comes back to biology again. Humans and fish, we use hemoglobin to transport oxygen in our blood. It's an iron-based molecule. That's why our blood is red.
Right.
Shrimp and other crustaceans use hemocyanin. It is a copper-based molecule. That's why their blood is technically clear or bluish.
Wait a second. If their blood is copper-based, why is extra copper toxic? Don't they need it?
They need tiny, tiny trace amounts that they get from their food. But because their entire biology is built to find and bind with copper, they have no off switch for absorbing it from the water. If there is free copper in the water column, their bodies absorb it rapidly and uncontrollably. It displaces the oxygen carrying capacity. Essentially, it suffocates them from the inside out and destroys their cells.
Wow. Okay, so where does this copper come from? I assume people aren't throwing pennies in their aquariums.
The most common source, by far, is medication. Specifically, cures for itch or white spot disease. Most of the old-school effective ick meds are copper sulfate based.
So you treat your tetras for a few white spots and you wake up the next morning to a shrimp graveyard.
Exactly that. If you have shrimp, you must read the back of every single bottle. If it lists copper in any form, do not put it in that tank, even if the bottle says safe for most fish.
What about plant fertilizers? Don't they have trace minerals?
Most good aquarium fertilizers have a tiny amount of chelated copper because plants need it. Usually it's a safe amount if you dose correctly. But if you overdose, or if you use a terrestrial plant fertilizer not meant for aquariums, that's a danger zone.
And decor too, right?
Never put a random rock or a random metal object in a shrimp tank. If that cute little metal figurine you found contains copper or zinc and it starts to corrode, game over. You have to stick to aquarium-safe hardscape and be very skeptical of shrimp-safe labels on random products from, say, non-aquarium marketplaces. Always read the ingredients if you can.
We're getting towards the end here, but we have to solve the biggest mystery, the one that breaks everyone's heart. You think you are being a good owner. You see the tank looks a little dirty, you do a big 50% water change, you vacuum the gravel really, really well, and 2 days later, dead shrimp. Why?
This is the cleanliness trap. We are taught from day one that clean water is good water. For a tank of discus, a 50% water change is great. It removes nitrates and keeps them healthy. For shrimp, a 50% water change is a massive, sudden environmental shift.
It goes right back to stability dependent.
Even if the new water is chemically cleaner, it is different. Maybe the TDS is 50 points lower.
Yeah.
Maybe the temperature is 5 degrees cooler than the tank. That sudden drastic shift triggers a biological panic response.
The panic molt.
Exactly. When a shrimp's body senses a massive change in the water parameters, its survival instinct kicks in and says, my environment has changed, I need to adapt. And the primary way they adapt is by molting into a new shell.
But they might not be ready to molt.
They might be only halfway through their natural cycle. The new shell isn't fully formed underneath the old one, but the shock forces the process anyway. They try to molt, they get stuck, or the new soft shell ruptures, and they die.
So by trying to give them a super clean tank, we can accidentally force them into a premature molt that kills them.
Yes. That is one of the top reasons for shrimp death, hands down.
So how do we clean then? We can't just leave them in filth forever.
Small and slow. That's the mantra. Instead of doing one big 50% water change a month, do a 10% water change every single week.
10%. That's barely anything.
It's enough to remove some nitrates and replenish essential minerals, but it's not enough of a volume change to shock them or shift the osmotic pressure significantly. And when you add the new water, drip it in or pour it in very, very slowly over half an hour. Treat the water change like a mini acclimation every time.
And what about vacuuming the gravel?
Be careful. The substrate is where that precious biofilm lives. If you deep vacuum the whole tank, you are destroying the pantry. Just hover the vacuum an inch over the surface to get the loose poop and debris. Don't churn the soil up too much.
Gentle. Everything with shrimp is gentle and slow.
If you're sweating while you're maintaining a shrimp tank, you're working way too hard. It should be a lazy person's hobby.
Okay, before we wrap up, I need to address the other side of the coin. We've been talking exclusively about Neocaridina, the cherry shrimp, and their color morphs. But people see pictures of the crystal red shrimp, the Taiwan bees, the ones with the solid white and red bands. Those are Caridina.
A completely different beast.
Can I keep them the same way we've been talking about?
Absolutely not. Please do not try to keep crystal red shrimp in your tap water. You will be very disappointed.
Why are they so different?
Neocardinas are adaptable. They come from water that's neutral to hard. Caridinas, the bee shrimp, come from very specific, soft, acidic streams. They need a pH of 6.0 or even lower. They require 0 kH. They need specialized, active buffering soil that constantly pulls the pH down.
So they're the advanced class.
They really are. They are stunningly beautiful, but they are much, much more demanding. If you're a beginner, master the cherry shrimp first. Keep a colony alive and breeding for a full year. Then, maybe, look into setting up a dedicated Caridina tank. We'll have to do a completely separate discussion on them because the rules are totally different.
Deal. Stay tuned for the bee shrimp chat in the future.
Sounds good.
Speaking of the future, we have some exciting news for the channel and for everyone listening.
We are hitting a milestone, or getting close to it.
Fish Keeping Life Co. is approaching 50 subscribers on our YouTube channel. Now, I know, compared to the big influencers, that sounds tiny, but to us, that's 50 real people who want to listen to us geek out about water chemistry.
It's a community. It's the start of something really cool.
So to celebrate, we want to do a giveaway. Once we cross that 50 subscriber mark, we're going to pick one winner at random to receive a pretty nice prize pack.
And what's in the box?
The winner gets to choose. Option 1, you can pick any Fish Keeping Life Co. coloring book, which honestly are super detailed and great for relaxing while you watch your tank. Or you can choose the daily tank journal.
That journal is actually a fantastic tool for shrimp keepers. We talked about tracking TDS and GH and stability. Writing it down is the absolute best way to spot those slow drifts.
Or option 3, you can get the book Life in Balance, The Hidden Magic of Aquariums.
All great choices.
So how do you enter?
Keep it simple.
Step 1, you have to subscribe to the Fish Keeping Life Co. YouTube channel. That's the main thing. Step 2, find the official giveaway post on the channel and comment with the code FKLC50+. That's FK-LC_50+.
And for a bonus entry.
If you tag a friend in your comment, you get a bonus entry.
Easy enough. Any rules?
Just a couple. It's for U.S. residents only, just for shipping reasons, and you have to respond within 48 hours if you win so we can get your prize out to you. We really want to grow this channel so we can keep making these kinds of guides, so please go hit that subscribe button.
Help us help you keep your shrimp alive.
Exactly. So let's bring it all home. If the listener takes one single thing away from this whole Hour 1 mantra for their shrimp tank, what should it be?
Shrimp reward consistency. That's it. They don't need you to be perfect. They just need you to be predictable. Don't chase numbers. Don't panic when you see one dead shrimp. Let the tank mature, keep the minerals steady, and keep your hands out of the tank as much as you possibly can.
Stability over perfection. Welfare first.
Welfare first, always.
I love it. Thank you so much for walking us through the science today. It makes this part of the hobby feel a lot less scary and a lot more logical.
My pleasure. It was fun.
And to all of you listening, thank you for trusting us with your time. Go check your TDS, maybe blanch a small piece of zucchini for your shrimp, but remember to remove it after 2 hours. And as always, keep your tank stable. We'll see you next time.
Take care, everyone.